access to the Tech Canvas portal. If at all you didn't get it, you can feel free to post in that WhatsApp group, or you can touch base with Nazni. She'll be happy to help assist. So let us go to the topic card payments. So we will go deep dive in card payments today, and then after that we will also cover on the card application side, and if time permits, we'll also cover some blockchain and distributed ledger technology tomorrow. Okay, so in this chapter, we are going to talk about the anatomy of a payment card, different types of the cards, and how the payment life cycle works for the card, and three important aspects in the card transaction, that is message submission, clearing, and settlement, and what are the different charges that are levied in the card payments, and near field communication. We'll also talk about chargeback and what is the methodology for the process for claiming the chargeback. So a payment card is a payment system issued by financial institutions such as bank, to a customer. So if you look at any payment card, so a payment system is attached to that payment card, and that payment system is linked to certain account or certain funds to that payment system. A payment card enable the card holders to access the funds in the customer's designated bank accounts. Then we call it as a debit card. If the payment card is attached to customers' savings or current account where the funds are available, then we call it as the debit card. If your payment card that is attached to the credit account of the customer, then we call it as the credit card. If a payment card that has loaded with a certain kind of funds and that can be used for making the transactions, then we call it as the prepaid card. So payment card is nothing but it is a card where a payment system is attached to it, and it is issued by any financial institution. Okay. If it is a debit card is something, when it is attached to current account or savings account. Sometimes you can see that there are some limits attached to savings account or current account. Still, the card that is issued for that account, we call it as a debit card only. And these payment cards allows card holders to make payments by electronic fund transfers and through automated teller machines. It can be through card present transactions or card not present transactions effectively. So through ATMs or through directly by swiping the card or dipping the card, or through electronic fund transfer mechanisms. That includes both near field communication mechanism or through online payment channels. And there is a standard size for all the payment cards. There is a standard size for all the cards. If you see, so this is like 3.37 inches width and 2.125 inches of length. Okay, length and width definition is different. Actually, it's a 3.37 inches length and 2.125 inches of the width. And then you can also see the thickness of 1.588 mm. That effectively means that 0.625 inches. Okay, and the corners, if you see, it's not an edged corners, it's a rounded corners, and there is a specification for the rounded corner also, which is that the radius should be 3.18 mm. Whenever we look at a card, we feel that some cards are smaller, some cards are bigger, uh, and like that we feel, but effectively, based due to the design of the card, you feel that some card is small or some card is big, but effectively when you look at any card, this follows the standard length, width, thickness, and even the corner radius measurements also. So they usually also have a unique embossed card number. The card number is always an embossed number, so that even some visually challenged persons can also able to read the number, and that is conforming to the ISO or IEC 7812 numbering standard. What are the different types of payment cards we have? The first one is debit cards, which is linked to a savings or current account. Earlier, initially, it was launched as ATM cards, which were used only for ATM transactions, and later it got moved to debit cards, where customers can do both ATM withdrawals as well as they can do electronic fund transfers or merchant transactions. So the advantage of the debit card is that it limits the advantage as well as disadvantage is that it limits the card holder to the funds available in that account plus any overdraft that is available in that account. So that is the way. So the debit card holder can be restricted themselves for the spending to the tune of the balance or the limit available to that account. Whereas credit cards, it allows the card holder to spend up to a specified credit limit. So a specified credit limit is given for the customer, and up to that specified credit limit, the customer is allowed to spend the money. Sometimes there is some limit just slightly on above the credit card limit. Say if a credit card limit is say 10 lakhs. OK, so there could be some slightly higher limit is placed on top of the credit card. Say, for example, say 20,000. So this is to make sure that customer will not get disappointed if at all if the customer is going slightly above the overdraft limit, the credit card limit. Say my limit is say 10 lakhs. My credit card limit is 10 lakhs. I go to a shop and I found some item which is like uh, say 10 lakh 10,000. So if I swipe the card, effectively the transaction should get declined. But there are some banks that give a very small limit on top of the credit card limit to make sure that the customer will not get disappointed for a difference of the small amount. So some banks offer that, whereas some banks give it as a strictly limit as this limit that is specified. And we all know that credit cards also offer the account holder for an interest-free period. So generally it is 50 days. That depends on the type of the card and card scheme that is offered. So generally 50 days is there in India. In some countries it is 40 days, 45 days. Even within in India also some cards offer 40 days, or some cards offer 52 days or 53 days period also. And credit cards require the account holder to repay at least the minimum amount each month, but charge interest on the unpaid balance. So effectively, once the amount is spent, so it is the expectation that the credit card account holder would pay at least the minimum amount every month, so that the bank also starts getting back the funds that is given to the customer. So even if a customer doesn't repay it, the minimum amount also, then the charges would be much higher. But otherwise, it would still be higher, but not as much as the scenario where the customer didn't pay the minimum amount also. And So incur no interest if the bill is paid in full by the specified date. If within if the customer pays within the 50 days period, then there is no interest need to be paid, and then the customer can enjoy the free credit limit for this period. And if so, effectively, if you look at the banks or financial institutions, so they are offering free credit card to the customers, and they are also giving free credit period, and then even whenever you do certain transactions, sometimes they give some offers, and some specific merchants they will give some additional offers. So all these things the cards will do. So how does they generate the income? So how does the credit card or debit card offering companies generate income?
So they can generate the interest rate of interest they apply.
Yes, okay. If a customer doesn't pay within the given due date amount, then they charge a higher rate of interest, say which is like 30%, 25%. So there they gain the revenue. Okay, how about the customers who take the card and regularly pays back to the financial institution?
There is a transaction fee 3% they charge to bank, and bank is taking from the merchant who's doing business to the credit card owners.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Good point. So effectively what they do is that whenever we swipe a card, for assume that we swipe the card for $100. So the merchant will not be paid complete $100. So effectively out of that, say $2.5 or $3 is taken out as the charges, and remaining $97 is paid to the merchant. So this is the way. So effectively the bank is getting overall. If you look at, there are many parties in this entire transaction. It looks like in the front end, it looks like you have dealt with the merchant and the transaction is completed. But in the back end, many people are there, many providers are there. We can talk about those things. So effectively all these providers will share that 2% or 3% that is taken from the merchant. And even the credit card issuing bank will also offer certain goodies to the customer who spend the money through credit card. So okay, if you look at some assumptions, right, those assumptions are really good actually. I mean, as the wording says, right, an idea can change your life. So credit cards, these Visa and Mastercards, they started this card network system, and established this with an assumption that a customer is ready to pay slightly higher amount for a seamless credit card, for a seamless payment transaction. That was the assumption. Customer is ready to pay slightly higher amount for a seamless transaction. So that was the assumption it was taken, and the credit card industry has come into picture. And now, if you see, credit card, or when now if you see it, it's like billion dollar, multi-billion dollar industry. So effectively, you can ask me that the merchant is the one getting charged for this transaction, but effectively indirectly that cost would come to the customer, maybe at least some portion of the cost, and the customer is willing to pay it. Yes, no, all right. Okay, next one is charge cards. So this is these cards are used for these cards are not used for any ATM cash withdrawals, So these cards are used for doing the online or offline transactions. So these generally require account holder to pay certain annual fee, and also the period of credit is slightly higher as compared to normal debit or credit cards. And to avoid the additional fees, as usual, actually the customer has to pay back to the financial institution within the given time period. Amex is one example where that offers charge card. So effectively it offers like 53 days or 55 days credit period. And I mean, generally they say that there is some charge involved, but effectively they don't collect the charge. They try to, even if they collect the charges, they will reverse the charges. And ATM cards, we all know that it is used for only automated teller missions, for cash withdrawals or deposits, or to take out the account statements. And then prepaid cards. So these cards are preloaded with a certain balance, and so this enables the users to use these prepaid cards to the extent of the balance that is available in the card. So one of the examples are traveler cards. Say, for example, you are traveling to US, okay, or any other country. Maybe instead of using cash, instead of carrying the cash, you can take a traveler's card. So if you go to any bank, Axis Bank or any other banks, and you can request for the travel cards. So maybe and you can also request what is the amount that is to be loaded in the card, say $10,000. So you can ask them. So they will debit your Indian account, Indian rupee account, and they will create a separate dollar account. And that account is linked to this travel card. And so through that, you can do the transactions. And generally, whenever I travel, right? So if I do the currency exchange here, so generally it is slightly higher. As I told you yesterday, if it is a cash transactions, the currency rate is much higher. Correct. So if I want to buy say $100, so they will charge me at 78 rupees or something like that. But generally, what I do is that I load my card and then I go to Dubai. There are some ATMs, so on the transit is generally Dubai. So there are some ATMs where I can withdraw US dollars. So I swipe my card and withdraw dollars. So in that way, I could able to save some portion of the forex charges. And we have fleet cards. So these cards are mostly for gasoline, diesel, or any other fuel filling. This can also be used by for paying the vehicle maintenance expenses or vehicle repair expenses at the discretion of the fleet owner or manager. So generally these are given to the lorry drivers or truck drivers so that whenever they need the gasoline or diesel, they can go to the the approved or um, approved gas stations or petrol stations and get the filling done, and also can be used for maintenance or repair expense also. Some of the other cards are gift cards, so and store cards. So if you look at gift cards, say Amazon gift card or Flipkart gift card or store cards, Archie's store card, if you see. So if you look at these cards are generally non-interoperable. So if you take Archie's store card, then effectively you can use it within the Archie's shops only. So if a bank, to offer this kind of store cards or gift cards, it doesn't require any regulator permission because the reason is very simple. So customer is paying some amount. I mean, there is a limit of up to 10,000 or 20,000. Up to that, you can buy a gift card or store card. So effectively, there is certain limit. The limit is small, and then that is used only within that shop or group of shops. So that is the reason there is no requirement of the central bank also. The next one is anatomy of a payment card. So you can see on the top of the card, the issuer of the card, and then the EMV chip, Euro, Master, Visa chip. It follows so EMV standards. And you can see the card number. This card number can be anywhere between 14 to 19 digits. So generally, if you look at Visa or MasterCard, so Visa card is can be 13 digit or 16 digit, whereas a MasterCard by default it is 16 digits. Maybe Diner card, if you see, it's 14 digits. So like that, different types of cards that offer different number of digits in the standard form. And based on the card number also, you can figure out which card it is. Say if it is starting with number 4, then it's a Visa card. And you can also see month and year of card expiry. And you can also see the name of the bank customer. So whoever is the customer that has taken the card, you can see that customer's name. And here you can see the card network or card scheme or the brand name of the card. So you can see two brands. One is effectively the bank that is issuing the card. We also call it as issuing bank brand. Issuing bank is the one that issues the card. And then you can also see the another brand that is card network or card scheme brand. That means through which network the card, the transaction is going to happen. Will be told through this mechanism. The other way to find out the card network is by seeing the first few digits of the card number. And then if you look at the back of the card, you can see the CVV number, which is card verification value or card security code. So generally this is 3-digit or 4-digit number. And there is something called as CVV2 number, which is recently coming up that uses second generation verification value mechanism to generate the numbers. So that is why it is called as CVV2 number. So these are also same 3-digit or 4-digit numbers. And then you can see the signature box. And the important thing is magnetic stripe. You see that. And you can see issuer contact address. When we see here, right, so we have the EMV chip, right? So effectively it's a chip based card. So in that case, what is the need to have the magnetic stripe also? So maybe to inform further, okay, magnetic stripe or chip is used to read the card information. So the magnetic stripe contains the card number, expiry date, CVV number, so all this information. So someone stripes the card in the POS machine. So this information will go to the POS machine, and through the POS machine, it goes to the merchant's bank and to the card network and to the issuing bank. So this is the way the transaction goes. The information goes. So similarly, if you see the EMV chip based cards, so the chip also contains this information in fact in a more authenticated way. So in that case, if already chip is present, then what is the need to have the magnetic stripe? Can anyone answer? Okay.
I don't
So
have idea.
okay, fine. So the reason is that all the vendors are not ready with chip-based cards. All the POS machines that we have is roughly like 85 to 90% of the POS machines facilitates the chip-based card readings, which is like card dippers, we can call it. Whereas the remaining 10 to 15% of the POS machines we have are not ready with the card dipping mechanism. So that is the reason we still have the magnetic stripe at the backside of the cards. So over a period of time, I think in US also still it is there magnetic stripe, but whatever the machines that are issued now, so they all are equipped with the chip readers. So over a period of time, you can see that the cards will have only the chip based mechanism. And even whenever you look at this is something, the magnetic stripe is something very easy to read the information, and through that anyone can make a counterfeit card. But whereas if it is a chip based, it has multiple protocols and it follows EMB protocol. So that's the reason it's very difficult to read this chip based information. So whenever you have an opportunity, just try to use the chip based mechanism rather than the swiping the magnetic elements, swiping the card. And the next point is on the card networks. Card schemes or card brands all represent the same thing. Okay, so that is the network through which the bank has tied up for issuing the credit card. So card issuers or a bank or financial institution needs to become a member of one or more card networks. So if a bank wants to issue credit cards or debit cards, it has to tie up with certain network. So what are the different networks we have? RuPay, we have Visa, MasterCard, Diners Club, uh, Japanese Credit Bureau, like Amex, like different networks are there. So first the bank applies to the card network that it wants to issue some cards, and the bank has to follow those protocols and pay certain fees, and then once they get the approval, after that they can issue the credit cards or debit cards, whatever the cards they want. So effectively the membership needs to be confirmed, and once it is confirmed, then the financial institutions can issue the card to the customers. So all these card networks have unique prefixes based on the card networks. So below are the some of the examples, okay, because the card network is much bigger now. So and effectively we have many more card networks have come into picture. So Visa, it starts with 4, and the length of the card number is 13 or 16 digits. And MasterCard, it will be from 51 to 55, and it's a 16-digit card number. Diners Club, this is 36, 38 starting numbers. So effectively, when you see the card number starting with 4 or 5, right, that means that these are issued by a financial institution. If the card number is 3, then it is issued by hotel industry. So Diners Club card, if you look at, this is mainly for effectively, to go to restaurants and spend there. So that's why you can see 36, 38 is the numbers. And Discover card, this is 6011. If something is starting with 6, that effectively means that it is issued by the tourism industry, travel and tourism industry. Okay, 601165, and then Japanese Credit Bureau 35, Amex 3437. Okay. And then Amex is a financial institution, but I think still it's an exception that it got 3437 prefix. I mean, got a prefix with 3. Similarly, based on the prefix, okay, the like we saw empty messages, right? If it is empty 100 series, then it's a customer to customer payment. Similarly, if the prefix of the card is 1, that represents the airline industry. Like that, based on the prefix also you can understand what industry it belongs, and then who is the issuer of the card. So if you look at all the card numbers, they follow a specific algorithm called Loon algorithm. So maybe I'll give you an example here. So this is the card number we have, 4137. I'll put it in the column wise, so it would be easy for you to understand. So whenever you look at any payment transaction, okay, a few important things that has to be noted is that the currency of the transaction. Suppose instead of crediting 16,000 rupees to uh, Tidra's account, suppose if I credit $16,000, that effectively uh, means that a huge amount, right? It is equivalent to like 12 lakh 80,000 rupees, correct? So that is the so always you have to look at the currency is important, and similarly then the amount that is typed is important. So instead of 16,000, if I type 10 extra, which is like 1 lakh 60,000, that effectively means I'm paying in excess of 1 lakh 44,000 rupees, and again I have to ask Tidras to return the remaining amount, correct? So amount is important, and then the currency is important, and then if you look at the account, to which you are crediting, is also important. Say for example, instead of creating 12345 account, if I create to 12346, then what would happen? Generally there is no account immediately with the same number, next number. So if at all there is an account, then what would happen? So the funds will go to instead of Tidras, it may go to someone else, and probably I may find it very difficult to get back that funds. Correct. So that is the reason you also need to. So sometimes if the account numbers are wrong, if generally typo is pretty common. So people type the account number wrong, and then funds goes to the other account, or if there is no matching uh, account, then the funds will come back to the customer's account. So so if somebody types one digit wrong, or say assume that maximum say 2 digits wrong, so still if it is not going to somebody else account and coming back to the customer's account, is the better scenario than is going to somebody else account, and then after that customer is moving pillar to the post to figure out the credit in the account, correct? uh, uh, for the credit account. Okay, so that is the reason. So to avoid this kind of miss credits to the beneficiaries accounts, so always account numbers are also followed some checksum digit at the end. The last digit is always called as the checksum digit. Some cases it would be last 2 digits, and some cases it's the last digit. Some exceptions are there. IBAN account, the third and fourth digits of the account number is checksum digit. But in general, if you see the last digit of any of your account number, either it's a credit card number or it's a debit card number or any account number or a normal general bank account number, that would be a checksum digit. Okay. Now, if through Loon's algorithm, okay, so all these numbers follow the Loon's algorithm methodology. So I'm just
Madam,
yeah, please.
how can a checksum be presented by a single number, single digit?
How come the checksum is present in single digit, right?
Yeah, I mean, what is the logic behind displaying it with a single number? Because checksum is normally unique, and if you're using a number from 0 to 9, and after 9 that number would repeat, right? So how would you identify? Let's say there are two cards with checksum number 4. How do you distinguish between the two based on
Okay.
only the checksum number?
Okay. Right. Right. If I say assume that I have say for example the okay, I have two account numbers. Okay, 121 is one account number, and then the other is 130. Okay, so if I see here account number 1. If I see here, okay, assume that the checksum methodology they are following is simple addition. Okay, so if we add all the digits 1 plus 2 plus 1, this would become 4, correct? So here also, if you see 1 plus 3 plus 0, this would also become 4. Okay, then what will be the account number with checksum? Account number 2 with checksum. Okay, if I see here, so this will become concatenation of these two, 1 to 1 and 4. This will be the checks account number of the this account, and account number 2 would be 1304. So this would be the account number of the number 2. Okay, say for example, if a customer is doing a transaction, so instead of 1214, if he does a transaction with 1215. So okay, maybe I'll say there is okay, another account number is there. Account number 3 is there. Okay, it's a different checksum. Okay, 122 is the serial account number. If you look at the checksum, then it would become the 5, 2 plus 2 plus 1, 5 it would become. So then my account number 3 with the checksum would be 1225, which is a concatenation of these two, right? So if you see here, if a customer is is in a hurry, so uh, he's just typing the account number. Okay, so instead of 1214, even if he types 1215 or 1219, still it won't go to any account. The funds will come back to the customer's account. If he does only 2 digits wrong, say 1214 instead of 1214, the chances are less likely, right? You are making 122 and then again putting 5. Maybe he might put 7 or something, right? Generally, so or 4 you will put it. 1224. Okay, so if you see here, so making 2 digits wrong is less likely. So effectively, even if you use a simple checksum methodology, so you can easily find out that you can effectively reduce the number of wrong transactions drastically.
Cool. Thanks.
So in case of credit cards, it is slightly a complex way of doing it. So you can look at the position. Okay, these are the digits in the credit card number, and the position is first number, second number, third number, like that, right? Total 16 digits are there. Okay, so for the even numbers, the even digits are multiplied with 2. So that means that okay, and odd digits are remain same. Actually into 1. If it is into 1 is same, right? No point of multiplying. Okay, now we'll take the sum of all these things. Just a second, I think. I'm sorry. So the even numbers, the multiplication has to be taken from the second digit from the last. Okay, so effectively, I did a small mistake here. So the last digit is a checksum. Okay, you can. So the second digit from the last should be multiplied by 2. Similarly, fourth digit from the last. Or you can take it as from the first digit onwards. Okay, first digit. And the other numbers would come as it is. Okay, let me do the manually. Okay, so the 11th, okay, second digit from the last. So effectively the 15th digit will get multiplied by 2, 13th digit, 11th digit, and then the 9th digit, and 7th digit, then 15th digit, and then the third digit and the first digit. So alternate numbers starting from the last but one of the card number starts getting multiplied with 2. And the all the numbers that are in the even places, effectively 2, 4. So these would come as it is. Okay, so did I miss anything? Okay. Eight, 6, 16. 8, 2, 14. 0. And then the 1, 7, 9, 7. Even if I take some of these, 1 plus 6 would become. Yeah, okay. So, okay, after that, what we need to do is that we have to take the sum of all the digits in the second place. So 8 is single number, so we don't need to add it. Here also this is a single number, so we don't need to add it. And here if you see 16, right, which is like so we'll add this 2 digit, so then it would become 7. Then this is a single number, so we don't need to add anything. So if it has 2 numbers, right, so effectively what we are doing is that we are doing the sum of all these things. We also call it as lucky number, right? With some of okay. If you see the total 43 plus 37. 80. So if that means if it is divisible by 8, then the card number is correct. And similarly, if to find the checksum digit, we do the reverse case. So effectively, this mechanism we call it as the modus of 10 mechanism. So the modus of 10 mechanism should be 0. So the modus of 10 should be 0 for the summation of the number we have taken. Then we call it as the credit card number is a valid number. So effectively, if I suppose if I have only 15 digit and I want to calculate the checksum digit, then I can say I can find out the nearest multiplication of the 10, that is 80. So then 80 minus 76. So the 4 would become the checksum digit of this card number. So this is the way it is found. So whenever you give a certain credit card number, suppose if I just type 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 till 16, and then if I give it, the system immediately finds it out when in the payment gateways or in the online systems, because it first validates the loans algorithm and see whether the card number is valid or not. If it is valid, then only it will allow you to do the further process.
Thank you.
And then what are the different key parties in the credit card transaction? So in the front end, we see that only the merchant and the customer is there, but effectively in the back end, if you see, there is a combination of at least 5 to 6 parties together work within few seconds to give the final confirmation to the customer regarding the card transaction. So the first one is card holder. So it is a consumer who owns the debit or credit card, and it is issued by the bank or any financial institution. And the card holder is not obliged to use only one card or only with one scheme. So the card holder can use many cards and can use many cards having many schemes also. So card issuer, it is the bank or financial institution that issues the card. So when you look at the card issuer's role, so the card issuer first applies for the network, and once they get the network, and then after that they issue the card. So they design the card, and then once a customer applies for the card, so they validate the customer's credentials, and they identify what is the best limit that can be given to the customer, and then they issue the card to the customer. So these are all the activities the card issuer does. And whenever customer makes certain payment, so the card issuer validates again whether the requested amount is within the card balance, available card balance amount or not, and the card is valid or not, and do multiple checks before authorizing the transaction. So the next one is acquiring bank. Acquiring bank, okay, card issuer is also called as issuing bank, and acquiring bank is the bank that acquires the merchants. So effectively, maybe we'll talk about merchant first. Merchant is any business or individual that receives payment based on the product or service which they sold. So merchant needs certain kind of POS machine or certain kind of linkage to the banking system. So that is done by the acquiring bank. So effectively, the acquiring bank is the one who acquires the merchant, who provides the facility to the merchant to do the transactions. So So and then so when you look at acquiring bank, so acquiring bank provides the POS mission or certain kind of uh, uh, bank account to the merchant, and then once merchant requests certain transaction is done by the customer, then effectively it routes the transaction and it finds out whether the transaction is valid or not, and it can be authorized or not, and then give final confirmation to the merchant's machine, and then the transaction gets approved or rejected. What are other parties? We have
I am having a question. Sorry to interrupt. Can you, this one is regarding the card issuer. They mentioned a point as card issuer cannot be only banks but any other certified financial institutions. What
yes,
are
that's
the
right.
certified financial institutions?
Okay, these are credit card companies that are authorized to issue the cards. So effectively, if you look at SBI cards is a separate division. It is not a bank. SBI bank is different and SBI cards is different. It's a separate division that is authorized to issue the cards. And similarly, you look at maybe any other financial institutions, maybe. Um, So Axis Bank, probably, some cases, okay, the banks are directly offering the cards, whereas some cases, if you can see, the card issuers uh, are taking the approval from the central bank, and they are offering the cards. Maybe SBI cards is the one example I can think of. What else is there? So there could be many examples. Maybe I'll tell you as and when I recollect.
Yeah, fine, thank you. No issues. I got your point. And one more thing is like in our previous slides, we discussed about the card specifications. So the card specifications is defined by the issuing bank, or is there any standard authority that is defined those card specifications?
The specifications.
Yeah, this is the card specifications. Like in our previous slides, like the first slides you mentioned, like card height, width, and all those things, right? This
Hmm.
one is common to the uh, all banks, or this particular thing is defined by the issuer bank. Suppose like SBI is going to issue this one, so SBI is only having these specific specifications, or this one is defined by the common.
So initially, when it was issued by the first card was issued by Bank of America during 1950s. So that time they issued the card slightly bigger card, and later the ISO standards came into picture. And based on the ISO standards, all banks have to issue the cards with these specifications. So effectively, if a bank wants to issue the cards, they have to follow these ISO standards. Why? Because so this facilitates. One is, pretty much simple thing is that it should fit in your wallet. That's the thing. And then it should be compatible with all the POS machines or ATM machines that we have across the world. So this ISO standards take care of those things. So effectively, any bank or financial institution that issues the cards have to take care of these standards.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So who defined this ISO IEC standards?
ISO is a global standard. So so effectively, it's a international standard organization. So they look at different practices across the world, and it's a voluntary organization. They look at different practices across the world and then come up with certain standards which are acceptable across the community.
Yeah,
And then
okay.
once and effectively, these are not. These are not an enforcing uh, standards. Say, for example, India, if you see, okay, one example is we use .in as Indian, at the end for Indian websites like government websites and all. If you see, those are ending with .in because the country code given for India is IN. So maybe you want to define a system where instead of IN you want to use IM. You are free to use it. But when you look at interoperability, when you look at compatibility, it doesn't work with other systems that are using. So then effectively it works as an odd man out.
Yeah, okay, got it. And one more thing, like in our previous slides, so you mentioned like there is a point like credit limit. So the credit limit is defined by the issuing bank.
Yes, it is issued by, it is defined by the issuing bank. So that the issuing bank analyzes the credit potential of the customer, and based on that they define the credit limit.
Okay, so for that credit limit, is there any basic parameters or specific parameters they need to follow?
Generally, uh, for a salaried employees, it is 3 months of their salary. 3 months salary is considered as a credit limit, up to maximum of 3 months of salary. That again depends on the credit score, and then how many cards the customer is having, how frequently the customer is using. So these are the different other factors the financial institution considers before giving the credit limit.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I am good.
Okay. And maybe I can give you one example. So if you look at the banks, right, if some banks are conservative, probably if a customer applies for the credit card, the bank may not approve the, if it is a conservative bank. And if you look at some banks which are aggressive banks, they approve the credit card for that customer. And I'll give you one example, like, when I started my career, it was around like initially, like 2008 kind of time. So I applied for the card, and then no bank has approved my card. So I applied for SBI, I applied for ICICI Bank. So, but I didn't get approval for any from any bank. So the reason I got it is that I don't have any card. I don't have any loan. I didn't have any card. I didn't have any loan. So the banks doesn't know what is my credit profile. So that is the reason they have taken a cautious decision of not to issue card to me. Okay. So that was the scenario. But when I applied to HSBC card, so I immediately got the card, and I got limit also, like 1 month of my salary as the limit. So if you look at foreign banks, right, probably they have, we may feel that they are competing Indian banks, but effectively, if you look at the good side of the foreign banks, are that they have better softwares, better valuation mechanisms, and probably the risk taking ability is also slightly higher, and so they could able to figure out that my based on my qualification and based on my experience, or the kind of job I am doing, the salary I'm drawing. So based on that, they could able to issue the card. That was the scenario during 2008, 2009, like that. But now, all the banks have matured. So even if you go to HDFC Bank, even if your fresher goes to HDFC Bank, the bank is pretty much comfortable to offer the card to the customer, to the fresher also.
Yeah, thank you.
I had that thankful feeling with HSBC Bank, so I used the card for almost 5 years. I didn't apply for any other card, and later I think I relocated back to Bangalore from Mumbai. So then I changed my card to something else. So that was the scenario. So
Loyalty.
loyalty, yes, that's right. So these are the four major parties in any card transaction. So without these four parties, transaction cannot happen. Okay, so sometimes we call it as a three-party model where the acquiring bank and the issuing bank both are same. The card issuer and the acquiring bank are same. Then we call it as the three-party model. Otherwise, generally the thing that is followed is four-party model, where you will have card holder, card issuer, bank and merchant. Okay, we'll go through how the process flow works for both three-party model and four-party model in the coming slides. So what are the other key parties in the entire credit cards transactions? The one is payment gateway. Payment gateway is a key part. Generally, payment gateways are used for online transactions. So it gives wide flexibility of to the customers, and it is a connecting. It connects between the customer and the merchant. So assume that you started a new website, and then you want to link. You want to allow customers to do purchases. If you go to the bank, probably if you go to HDFC Bank, then you open a HDFC account. What you can do is that maybe you can just connect with the HDFC Bank account, and then probably you may not be in a position. You need to ask the customers to transfer the funds to your HDFC Bank account, and then after that you would once payment gets created, then you will deliver the goods. So that is the way you can do that, right? Or otherwise, suppose if you go to maybe Visa or Master, and then if you use their specific gateways, then effectively you can allow the transactions of that particular gateway alone. So effectively you have to go and apply to all these. If you want diners, if you want Amex, if you want all these things, so you have to go and apply for the gateways of all these providers. And then once and then you have to maintain the accounts, you have to maintain balance, you have to follow all the rules and regulations given by them, and then you get the approval to use their gateway, and then probably you may need to build separate APIs to connect to these gateways. So all and then the transaction charges also would be much higher, because the number of transactions you do is hardly 10 or 20 with each gateway in a month. So that is the kind of scenario. Then what is the solution for this? The solution is payment gateway. So if it is a payment gateway, then payment gateway has already tied up with different providers domestically as well as internationally, especially internationally. I will quote it. So because domestic is something you could able to figure out and you could able to manage, but international players, tying up with international players and bringing up them to your terms would be much difficult. So these payment gateways are already connected with the domestic and international players. So once you integrate your website with this payment gateway, so effectively means that done. OK, if a customer comes and says that he has Diners Club card, so yes, he can just use the Diners Club card and make the payment. Or if the customer comes and says that he wants to use UPI, yes, through payment gateway, you can do that. So with the payment gateway, the advantage is that it creates a seamless connectivity between the merchant and the customer. And also there is a slight difference between payment gateway and the other terminology called payment aggregator. In case of payment aggregator, the aggregator offers much more wider services as compared to the gateway. Maybe in the next slide we will cover that portion. So you can remember that payment gateway is something. It's a gateway for the customer to make the payment, and then effectively the gateway takes care of entire overall connectivity to the acquiring bank and then to different parties. OK, so connecting to acquiring bank till OK, payment gateway. And then we have payment processor. Payment processor is a system enables financial transactions commonly employed by a merchant to handle transactions with customers from various channels. Say, so okay, so through payment gateway, payment gateway is connected between the customer and the merchant. From merchant to the acquiring bank, and to till the card scheme, and then to the acquiring bank. So everything can be done through payment processor. So payment processor, again, two types of payment processors we have. One is front-end processor who does the authorization of the messages and whereas the backend processors moves the funds movement from the card issuing bank to the final the acquiring bank to the merchant. And similarly, there is another classification of the payment process, that is acquiring bank payment process, who does the transaction routing from the merchant till the acquiring bank to the card scheme. And similarly, issuing bank payment processors from card scheme to the issuing bank and issuing bank to the card scheme. Maybe in the next slides, we'll have more details about this. I'll cover there. Okay. So now this is the difference between payment aggregator and payment gateway. So effectively, aggregator is a superset of gateway. Whatever the gateway does, everything aggregator does. On top of that, aggregator does some additional activities. Like say payment gateway. Payment gateway is just a mediator between the merchant's bank account and the customer account. Whereas if you look at aggregator, merchants can also hold some wallets with the aggregator, and then the payment can go to the aggregator's account. I mean, the credited funds gets credited to the merchant's wallet, made run by the aggregator. And then similarly, the payment aggregator, provides various options like UPI, debit or credit cards, QR codes, cash and checks, net banking facility, like multiple options the aggregator provides. Whereas if you look at payment gateway, generally this is used for the online payment transactions. And integrated solution, both have integrated solution. So and then generally this is owned by fintech companies, and these are owned by the vendors, public and private banks, and some merchants. So this payment aggregator area is one of the areas where the fintech industry is flourishing like anything. Like you look at companies like Paytm, PayU, Beam. So all these things are Western Union. All these things are examples of payment aggregators where they do much more variety of the activities. They also do settlement activity. They also do the sanctions list verification, like that. They follow, they do multiple activities and make the process much more simpler for the vendors, for the merchants. And touch point digitized, offline touch points as well as online touch points, which means that the POS transactions as well as card not present transactions. So whereas if you look at payment gateways, they do only online touch points that comprising of website or mobile application. And permission side, payment aggregator is mandated to get the necessary certification according to the PCI DSS standard, whereas these follow the local regulation PSSC standard in India. Okay, so PCI standard is very much important. Payment card industry, even if you build any kind of fintech company or any kind of gateway, so that should gateway or aggregator or anything. Any product you offer, so that should follow the PCI standards, then only it's widely accepted and globally recognized. And success rate is also a higher rate in case of aggregator, whereas in case of gateway, it is slightly lower. Okay. And what are the other key parties in the cards industry? Cards industry is a very, very big industry. It's a widely used industry. So you can see that, so many parties are participating in that and creating value addition. So one is, from merchant to acquirer, if you see, okay. So all these follow these ISO standards, and then you see the terminal manufacturers, the POS machine manufacturer. Generally, some POS machines are generally banks give their own POS machines. Effectively they buy it from some vendors and give the sell the POS machines. And some cases merchants can go and buy the POS machines from any third party. So this can be anyone. And then the acquirer, which is the acquiring bank. So from the merchant to the acquiring bank, the payment gateways are there connected through payment gateways. And then from acquirer to card network, if you see, the acquirer processes are there. And from card network to issuer, you can see that issuer processes are there. and token service providers are there. We'll talk about tokenization, and then from issuer to consumer, if you see you have the card manufacturers, and for consumers digital wallet providers, and there are so many third parties who sell the who market the credit cards. There are third parties who analyze the customer credentials, customer financial soundness, and then suggest the limit to the issuing bank, and then issuing bank do one more validation before issuing the limit. Or there are some third parties who just go and do the physical inquiry of the customer before issuing the card. So like this, you have so many providers within the industry, uh, and all these give little value addition to the entire process, and then they charge very minor portion of the transaction amount. And since the transactions are happening in trillions of the dollars, and every day even in the numbers also trillions of the transactions, so that is the reason even a small portion, which is like 0.01 points of the percentage of the transaction fee, if somebody charges, that would turn out to millions of dollars by the end of the year. Okay, now we'll come to the models in card payments. So important terms are issuer and acquirer. Issuer is the one who issues the card, and then acquirer is the one who acquires the merchant. So now we'll talk about the three-party model. In case of three-party model, we already discussed that the issuing bank and acquiring bank are same. The card holder and merchant would be the other two parties. Okay, so how does this model works? So here is the card holder, the left side you can see, and then a card holder bought certain items from the merchant and made the payment through card. Merchant has accepted the payment, and then merchant send the communication to the merchant bank, and effectively merchant bank and acquiring bank is same. So the merchant bank or the acquiring bank, so the bank has validated the card number, and then the expiry date, and then the PIN number, CVV number. So all these validations have done. They also validated whether the card has sufficient limit or not, and is that the transaction is genuine or not. Probably the card is the customer is based out of Bangalore, but the transaction is happened somewhere in Paraguay. So in that case, some kind of mechanism should be there, to call the customer and ask, or to ask the customer to give one more level of confirmation before before giving the confirmation to the merchant. So this kind of activity it does, and then once the issuing bank effectively, or the acquirer, okay, here both are same. Once the financial institution is satisfied with the details that is provided, then it sends the confirmation message. It also, if it is not satisfied, it sends the reject message. If it is satisfied, then it will send the confirmation message. All these messages follow through ISO 8583 standard. We'll talk about it in tomorrow's session. So communication happens, and then once the bank confirms, so here bank is not making the payment. Bank is just confirming that this is a valid transaction. Please go ahead and deliver the goods effectively, right? So bank has given the confirmation that the transaction is valid, and so then the merchant might go ahead and deliver the goods and services. So this is the way the transaction happens. And then the bank also informs the card network. So this is the transaction happened on this so and so card number. That is for the card network records. And the next one is what if the scenario when issuing bank and the acquiring bank are different? Okay, so here if you see the card holder is here and the merchant is here, the transaction is done, and then the merchant has sent the information to the acquiring bank, asking that so and so transaction is done. So the acquiring bank, the acquiring bank doesn't know whether the card is valid or not, whether the limit is there or not. So the acquirer doesn't have any clue because the card is issued by some other bank. Card is issued and maintained by some other bank. So the acquiring bank has sent the information to the card network, the Visa, Master, RuPay, so all the card networks, right? So through this card network, the information has went to issuing bank. Issuing bank has done the validation, and then it sent the authorization, authorization or rejection message, and through card network it came to acquiring bank, and from acquiring bank it reaches the merchant. So this is the way the transaction happens. The confirmation message happens, and then we'll talk about the settlement in the next slides. Okay, and the next scenario given is that how the payment life cycle happens in the card scenario. So the card holder issued the card. The issuing bank has issued the card to the card holder, and then the card holder present the card to make the payment, and then it went to the merchant, and through merchant it went to the card network, and card network wrote the authorization request, and then the authorization response it has come. So finally it reached to the merchant, and then from merchant so a confirmation message comes to the card holder saying that the payment is accepted, and also confirmation comes from the issuing bank also saying that the account is debited for so and so amount. Okay, so here when we see that the customer's account gets debited or notionally debited for the amount, but the settlement doesn't happen immediately. So what happens is that at the end of the day, the merchant submits the at 12 o'clock. It's a standard defined process. At midnight 12 o'clock, the settlement batch runs, where merchant will get all the information of what are the transactions merchant has customers have done with the merchant, and then how much amount the merchant is supposed to receive. So that information comes. So that information also gets submitted to the acquirer, and then once acquirer validates all the merchants information, and then after that they send it to the card network, and then card network will have the requests from so many acquiring banks throughout the country or the world. So they take that entire thing, and then they will find out which issuing bank has to pay what amount, and so they send that information, which we call it as the that's called the clearing information, where the card network consolidates all the payments requests it has come to it. So it consolidates and finds out which bank, which issuing bank or the financial institution has to pay what amount, and then it sends the information to issuing bank. Issuing bank validates from its side, and once everything is fine, then it makes the payment through card network to the acquiring bank. Once acquiring bank received the payment, then it credits the merchant account. So this is the way it happens. So generally, if you look at, we call it as a T+1 settlement here. So if the trade happens today, the next day, the merchant's account get created with the funds. And if you look at the issuing bank, so issuing bank is the one issued the cards, right? So effectively, it is something always, need to make a lot of payments on behalf of its customers. Whereas if you look at the acquiring bank, this is the bank that has issued a lot of POS machines. So I mean, it can be, issuing bank also can be same as acquiring bank, right? Okay, so but both are in two different shoes effectively. So acquiring bank is the one, it has issued a lot of POS machines. So effectively at the end of the day, it is the one that has to receive the payments from the issuing bank. So generally, if you look at the acquiring bank is in the receiver side in the settlement transaction, and issuing bank is someone in the paying side of the settlement transaction. Is there any scenarios where issuing bank will receive the payments? If certain kind of refunds are there, returns are there, then issuing bank will receive the payments. And similarly, if cardholder requests for chargeback, say some transaction has happened and cardholder feels that it's not a genuine transaction and he raises the request, and the merchant has approved and acquiring bank also agreed to return the funds, then the funds would come to the issuing bank. So that is one scenario, or the returns scenario, refund scenario, or the chargeback scenario, or the different scenarios, or even sometimes the ATM cash withdrawals. So these are the scenarios where the issuing bank is in the receiving side of the payments. Issuing bank is in the sending side of the payments. Whereas in all the other scenarios where the cardholder made the payment to the merchant, and so the final settlement amount has to go from the issuer to the merchant. Any questions here? So we can. Yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you. Is there any scenarios like impacts as well as fear and acquire the same? Acquire is different. Like, is there any scenario like cardholder is enrolled in and not a card is not enrolled in the acquire part? Like what happened? Simply
The
explain,
card.
or
Is there any scenario the card holder is?
uh, the card holder, so the issuing bank is the card holder is enrolled in issuing bank but not enrolled in acquirer bank.
Okay. Okay. So the issuing bank, so card holder has only connection with issuing bank. Okay. So issuing bank doesn't know acquiring banks. So what it knows is that it knows only the card network. So through the card network should have connection with acquiring banks. So through which the transaction gets happened. If at all there is, if we assume that issuing bank has the relation with card network, but card network doesn't have a relation with acquiring bank, or the acquiring bank is not responding to the transaction. So in that case, the transaction gets failed.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And similarly, in this entire channel, right, in any case, if you see that, if there is some connectivity issue or something, see, if you look at the overall transaction, generally this entire transaction happens in few seconds. Maybe, if you look at, most advanced systems like Visa Net or, MasterCard's clearing settlement master. So all these things, they are poised to do the entire transaction within 1 second. So they calculate like, how many milliseconds it is going from card network to the acquiring bank for data verification, and then how many milliseconds within how many milliseconds the information is coming back to the card network, and how much time it is taking again from card network the information is going to issuing bank. So they calculate it in milliseconds, and they keep on fine tuning their system, because the transactions are trillions of transactions are coming, and at the same time they have to respond quickly. Otherwise, there are some payment gateways keep a limit of like 3 seconds or 5 seconds. If they don't get the response within those 3 seconds or 5 seconds, so then they give the response as the payment got failed, and then the cardholder has to try again. Sometimes you can see the scenarios where the message comes as the payment got failed, but again if you see that your account gets debited, and again during the reconciliation process the banks figure out that the account got debited, but it is not credited to the merchant. The payment failed message went. So they return to the customer's account. So this is the way they do that. So overall, if you look at the entire process looks easier, but the volume of the transactions and the kind of fine tuning that is needed and the kind of efficiency that has to brought in, that makes the overall process much more complex.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And one more thing is like how card network is working. I mean, like suppose like I am having the ICICI bank, so I went to the merchant and swipe my card. So how the card network is routing that one to, uh, I mean, like from
Say
acquiring bank
HDFC
to
Bank.
issuing bank, card network is involved, and how card work is identified. Uh, this needs to be routed to ICICI Bank, and this needs to be routed to SBI Bank, and this needs to be routed to HDFC Bank. How, on what parameters it is to identify?
Okay. So, okay. So, okay, fine. So your merchant is ICICI Bank, okay, and then when you have done the transaction through okay, your credit card is with ICICI Bank, correct? Which is the scenario you said?
Yes, yes.
Your credit card is with ICICI Bank,
Yeah,
and
my credit card is to ICICI. I went to
right. You went to merchant,
I
okay?
went to merchant store, so I swiped that particular card. How card network is identified, that particular one uh, routed
It
to
has the
that
card
particular.
number, no? It has the card number, right? So through the card number, it identifies who is the issuer of the card, and it routes it to issuing bank. The request is coming from the merchant bank, acquiring bank, and so it comes to the card network. So your card number is a unique number, correct? So it's a 16-digit unique number. It's also called as a PAN number, permanent account number in the ISO 8583 terminology. So based on the card number, it identifies which bank it is issued the card. It has issued the card, and then it routes it to the respective bank and wait for that bank's response.
Okay, so all is happened based upon the 16-digit number or 13-digit
Yes,
number,
that's
whatever.
right. Right.
That is the only one way the card network is working, right? Or is there
Right.
any?
That is right. That is right. In fact, actually, even I mean, if you go little detail, like within your 16-digit card, right? So the first digit represents first two digits represent the card number, and after that, the next two digits are something represents the bank that has issued the card. No, I think not first to four digits. I think fifth to eighth digit represent the bank that has issued the card. Even it doesn't need to read the complete account card number. So based on the fifth to eighth digits, it could figure out that so and so bank has issued, and it sends all the requests to that particular bank.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. So we're talking about the submission. So submission is the time merchant submits daily transactions to the acquirer electronically. So when you look at POS missions, so at the end of the day, the merchant triggers the settlement button, or it gets automatically done the settlement. The settlement happens at the midnight. And also there are some kind of, so effectively, whenever the transaction happens at so the merchant can able to submit all the transactions by the merchant able to, and at the end of the uh, within 24 hours, effectively the merchant has to submit all the transactions that are done through their POS missions. The maximum time given is 3 days, and there could be some exceptions, but in general within 3 days the merchant has to submit all the transactions that were happened to the acquiring bank for confirmation. And once acquiring bank receives all the all the transactions, then it sends it for to the card network, and to the card network to the issuing bank, and issuing bank will also find out the final settlement amount that has to be paid, and through the card networks the payment happens, and the payment happens the card network, the issuing bank, the issuing bank makes the payment to the card network, and then the card network makes the payment to the issuing bank. So all this transaction happens through, suppose if it is in India, it happens through NPCI switch, the National Payment Council of India switch. The same switch which we use for NEFT transactions or RTGS transactions, the same switch is being used for the card networks also. And then, before the payment happens, the clearing happens, which tells which acquiring bank, which issuing bank has to pay what amount, and then finally the settlement happens here. And there could be some scenarios where the merchant feels that they want the funds immediately. So there's some alternate flows, right? So in that case, there are a different type of POS machines are there, which allows the merchant to submit at intermittent regular intervals also for as the settlement file. So they can just press the settlement button, or if it is already pre-configured at a 6 hours intervals kind of thing, that the settlement file gets generated and it goes to the issuing bank and then processing happens. But generally, those kind of POS machines are the settlement mechanism also calls for some additional fees from the merchant. I mean to say that the merchant has to pay some additional fee whenever he wants a separate settlement, apart from the end of the day settlements. Okay, so this is what we have covered: submission, clearing, and settlement. And then the important item for any financial institution, the payment processing fees. There are different charges that are collected in the entire payment process. So the one is interchange fee, which is also called as trade fees. This is the fee paid by the acquiring bank, the merchant bank, to the issuing bank. So this is generally like 1.5 to 1.75% of the transaction amount. This is the biggest fee that has paid by the acquiring bank to the issuing bank. And so this covers the handling costs, fraud and bad debt costs, and also risks involved in approving the payment. So everything is there. So the issuing bank is the one giving the funds to the merchant bank. So effectively, so to avoid the various frauds or the handling costs, all these things. So the acquiring bank makes the payment to the issuing bank. So in turn, acquiring bank collects this payment from the merchant. So in the overall transaction, the merchant is paying the additional amount to give this facility. Maybe if you can look at it, probably you might be charging a slightly higher amount to the customer to provide this kind of facility. And then assessment fees. This is the fees that are paid directly to the networks for the use of their card brand, as well as the ability to process transactions on their payment networks. So this fee is calculated on monthly volume in terms of the amount and is currently in the range of 9 to 11 basis points. So this assessment fee is paid to the card networks, and this is something around 9 to 11 basis points of the overall transaction amount. So basis point is 1/100th of the percentage is called as basis point. If I say 2%, that means that 200 basis points. If I say 0.5%, that means, or if I say 50 basis points, that means that 0.5% of the transaction amount. When I'm saying 9 basis points, that means that 0.09% of the transaction amount is something assessment, is paid to the card networks for doing this service. Okay, when you look at this, right, 0.09% of the transaction amount. If you do something like 1,000 rupees of the transaction, that means how much? Say 90 paisa, which is very less, right? If you look at overall UPI transactions or any kind of card transactions, maximum of the transactions are done for below 500 rupees. Okay, 75 to, if you look at UPI transactions, 80% of the transactions are done below 200 rupees. And even if you look at 75% of the transactions are done below 100 rupees worth value of the transaction amount. Okay, so if you look at this 9 basis point means, which is 0.09 per 0.09 percentage, which is really less, 9 paisa. If they do 100 rupees transaction, only 9 paisa. It looks very small, right? But for the facility, if they do, they build up a big server, you know, entire transaction is authorizing, everything is happening. But if you look at the volume of the transactions, every day they do billions of the transactions. So if you look at, you know, and that means that turns out to be trillions of dollars of the amount. that effectively means that they get 9 basis points, 0.09% of the $1 trillion, which could be a huge amount. So even if the costs of the maintaining the network goes out also, these Visa and MasterCards are making a huge amount. Something like if I tell me, if you want me to tell in rupee terms, something like 35 to 40,000 crores profit they are making it every year by providing this card networks. So Indian government also looked at this kind of opportunity and then felt that when when this Visa and Master are making so much money, and then effectively this much revenue is going out from India also, right? Some portion of the revenue is going out from India also, right? I would say major portion of the amount, because India is one of the biggest countries, and digital revolution is also happening at faster pace. So when the Indian government felt that why can't we have a kind of payment network like this, so that the revenue will not go out of India. And one more scenario is that when so if you look at all these payment networks, right, these are all based out of US, majorly based out of US, Visa, Master, Amex, all these three big bulls are based out of US. So when the relation between when the relation between America and Russia was not good, so all of a sudden the America has mentioned that they are stopping all the payment networks that are operating in US. So they have done the sanctions in 1990s. So during that period. So then what happened? All of a sudden, people have Visa card, MasterCard, or they might be using some Android Pay, Google Pay. So all these things, right? So all of a sudden, the entire transactions came into halt. So people have cards, but they cannot use it because there is no Visa network or Master network to facilitate these transactions. So when it became like a biggest havoc in Russian history in terms of the payments. Then every country started realizing that if that kind of scenario happens, if their relation with the US gets sold, and then what happens to the country's payment system. As you all know, that payment system is one of the backbone systems for the country's economy. A country that has good payment system, good transaction based system has can show highest economic growth as compared to many other countries. So what would happen to the entire payment system if at all, if some sanctions comes from US? So that is also one reason that India started building its own credit card mechanism that is RuPay. Similarly, Japan has come up with its own credit card network, that is JCB, Japanese Credit Bureau. And similarly, China has its own credit card network. So like that, and then they started promoting this RuPay network. Even one time, when I was in Singapore, one time Modi has come there. So I got some invite through Chartered Accountants community. So I was fortunate to visit that event. So it was like roaring event. Like around 10,000 people came. I mean, in Singapore, for one event, 10,000 people. That especially Indians, right? Effectively, only Indians will come, right? Mostly Indians, right? So came. There, the thing that Modi has launched a couple of products. All these products are related to how RuPay can be integrated with the now with the Singapore banking system. So tie up with Development Bank of Singapore for launching new credit cards and launching a new app for making the payments through RuPay. So like that, he has launched a couple of products. So I was wondering, actually, I mean, Modi is like, the number one or number two citizen of India, right? Effectively. So, and he's the prime minister. So I was wondering actually, why, only this 2-3 small developments here he is showcasing such a bigger level. But over look at, Rupee has penetrated into the market so well that now it is like 50 to 60% of the transactions are happening through Rupee network. And then now okay, initially for certain period, so Modi has promoted it, and now his second line or third line or fourth line people are promoting it. But overall, if you see, you could see, much relevant and resilient payment system that is developed for India, so that that one is that the economy would continue to prevail even if some sanctions comes from some other country, and the second thing is that that is also generating good revenue to the nation. So on the next one is payment processor fee. So the processors in between, from the merchant to the acquiring bank, which is like merchant processor, the acquiring bank processor, or the processor between issuing bank and the card network. So there could be one processor, so which is issuing bank processor. Like the different, or the other way of classification is the front end processors and back end processors. So for all these processors also, and collect a certain fee for this transaction, that is payment processor fees. So if it is an issuing bank processor, the payment needs to be paid by the issuing bank. And whereas if it is an acquiring bank processor, the payment needs to be paid by the acquiring bank. Effectively, when the merchant has to pay for the acquiring bank processor. So next we'll go to the one other way of communication, that is near field communication. So whenever you look at your card, so there is a Wi-Fi symbol on top of the card, for the recently issued cards. So that signifies there is a near field communication facility attached to the card. Or in your mobile, if you want to make you can enable the near field communication. And the advantage of that near field communication is that you don't need to dip the card or swipe the card. I mean, you can just keep the card near to the POS machine, and then the transaction happens. And similarly, in case of mobiles, you can just you can enable near field communication, and then you can keep your mobile near to the POS machines or NFC enabled devices. So through which the transaction happens. So this is an example of a contactless payment. So what is the definition, or how do we define it? So near field communication is the technology that allows two devices like your phone and a payments terminal, or your card and a payments terminal, or your phone and another phone to talk to each other when they are close together. NFC is the technology that enables contactless payments for cards as well as mobiles. It is a short-range wireless technology, typically requiring a distance of 4 inches, like 15 to 20 centimeters distance is the coverage of the near field communication. Even if you want to increase it in the settings, you will not have much flexibility. Maximum is 20 centimeters. So till 20 centimeters range, through near field communication technology, you can receive the signals, and I mean the POS machine or the NFC enabled NFC receptor can receive the signals and take the card details and do the transaction. NFC payments are one more advantage is that NFC payments are dynamically encrypted, so they generate a token So they keep the permanent account number of the card, the 16-digit card number confidential, and they generate a token, and through that token it sends the transaction request and gets the approval. So in that way, now even if somebody has has got into the network through hacking, which we call it as eavesdropping. So even if it happens also, so they would get what they get is the tokenized number, which is like an encrypted number, and so they'll not be able to do any further transactions with that number. So examples of the NFC payments, we have Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay, and the contactless transactions using cards by RFID or NFC. Okay, so if you look at all these mobile facilitators that offer like Apple Pay, Google Pay, so all these things, they all use NFC technology to do the transactions. And also there are two types of technologies. One is NFC technology and the other one is RFID technology. So NFC is near field communication, which is like up to 20 centimeters distance it will cover. RFID is radio frequency identifier. So this is for the longer distance communications, up to 100 meters distance RFID covers. So this requires even more high level of security. We keep getting some WhatsApp messages, right? Somebody kept the POS machine next to someone's wallet, and then immediately the payment got debited. So these kind of scenarios can happen, right? So that is the reason RFID is like 100 meters distance. So that is the reason. So this requires even more security. So that's the reason when you look at FASTags are operated based on the RFID technology. So the balance that can be maintained in RFID enabled cards, that the FASTag cards is only 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees, not more than that. In that way, the maximum amount that can a customer will lose is only that 1,000 or 2,000 rupees. And also effectively, once the transaction happens, immediately the customer will get the message saying that so and so amount got debited. In that way, the customer is also aware that okay, this amount got debited, and if it is a genuine amount, the customer would be comfortable, may not just be okay. Otherwise, the customer can raise a dispute. Okay, so this is the scenario example of how the NFC transaction happens with MasterCard. So the customer has done some transaction by tapping a mobile device at a merchant terminal, or by making an e-commerce payment through digital wallet, or some contactless ATM transaction. The merchant has done it, and then the information went to the acquiring bank. Actually, the information goes to the acquiring bank through the token number. So the card number gets encrypted, and a token number goes to the acquirer. Through acquirer, it goes to the MasterCard network, and MasterCard also has the cards, the decrypting mechanism. So it validates the transaction, or otherwise it sends to the issuing bank. So issuing bank decrypts that. De-tokenize that number and finds out the original PAN number of the card, and it validates the card number and all the the limit is available or not. So all these things it validates, and finally once it gives the and again it again tokenizes that number to the previous number that was given, and then again it sends the confirmation or rejection message to the MasterCard, and through which it will reach to the final merchant. So this is the way the transaction happens effectively. With the help of the tokenization, so the transaction is much more secured. The merchant or all the routing parties in this channel, they all know only the token number and no other information. Token number and the expiry date and CVV, all the expiry date and CVV will remain the same. Only the card number would be changed to the another 16-digit token number. So how this tokenization process happens? This is the basic architecture. So this is the application server. Application server sends the information to tokenization server. From tokenization server, it goes to the token database, and the token database gives use some hash function and gives a certain token number, and this token number would go to the acquiring bank, and through acquiring bank it goes to the network and gets the transaction approvals. And similarly, application server also if you see here, application server is not directly connected to the application database. So effectively it for the PAN number, so it goes to the token database and it gets the token number, and the same thing is given to the vendors, merchants database also. So the merchant can also store the token number rather than the actual card number of the customer. And these tokens can be different types of tokens. We have one is one-time use tokens. Say, for example, I want to take a masked number, token number only for doing one transaction. So then I can go to the bank's website and say HDFC Bank website. They use the different terminology, but ultimately what you get is the token number. So you can take that the token number, that is also some 16-digit number. So you can use that and do a transaction. And the token number is valid only for that particular transaction. And after that, if anybody wants to use that number also, that is an invalid number. So in that way, it is the customer's interests are protected. The other way of tokenization is that merchant specific token numbers. Say, for example, if it is Amazon. Okay, now RBI has given a specific order saying that that merchants should not store the actual credit number or debit card number of the customer. They should store only the token numbers. So in case of Amazon, every time sending it to token server and then collecting the token number. So this would always take a certain amount of effort, right? And which is like, which is slightly redundant. So that is the reason. So Amazon can have merchant specific token numbers. So my credit card number in Amazon will be some token number, which with that token number only I can do the transactions through Amazon. If I go to Flipkart website, Flipkart might store it, my card number as a different token number that is used only for the Flipkart transactions. Assume a scenario where say Flipkart database got compromised and all the credit card information has gone to the hackers. They cannot do anything because whatever the token numbers are there. So whatever the token numbers are there, those can be used only in the Flipkart website. So that's the reason the hacker cannot do anything. Otherwise, the hacker has to come back to Flipkart website and try to do the transaction. By the time Flipkart can easily capture that this is something a different customer's card number. Okay, so recently I have seen a book called Disability is a Strength. Okay, so when we look at disability, right? Disability is something we always feel it's a weakness, right? If some maybe physical handicapness or mental handicapness or some any disability, we always feel it's a weakness, right? But the book title is Disability is a Strength. I was very much interested to buy that book. It was written by some foreign author. So when I tried to go to that, when I went to that website, so it was showing some reasonable amount, only some $15, $20 the book cost, but there is no mechanism like there is no link to Amazon or PayPal or any other Walmart or any other website through which I can buy the book. So it's only, and I have to give the credentials, my card credentials in that website only, and then probably once they receive the payment, They are saying that they will deliver the book. So here two risks are there. One is that I'll make the payment and then after that they don't deliver the book. Okay. So which is okay, probably okay, because actually, I mean, the amount I will lose only $15-20, which is something negligible. Okay. But the other scenario is that I'm giving all my card information. Through that, they can make counterfeit cards or they can use that card information and do some online transactions and they can make me a big loss. So two scenarios are there, two possibilities of risk is there. How can I avoid that? One of the ways is tokenization. So I can go to my bank website and find out the token. I can give my card number and then I can get the token number. So if you see here, say example, OK, so my card number is assume that this is the number. OK. And then when I give the card number, so the bank database has given me a different card number. You see that. So the first digit is same 44. That means that it has to go to Visa network. And then the rest numbers are different. So which is a token number. So you can see here. So card number is 16 digit and similarly the token number is also 16 digit. In that way, so there are many websites. If you see, if it is a card number, it can accept up to 19 digits only or 16 digit only. In that case, also, it won't be a difficult scenario because the number I'm going to enter is only the same 16 digit number. And it also confirms the loan algorithm. So I got this card number. So I went to the shop, the particular website, and then I gave my card number, the token number, a tokenized card number, and then I have submitted the payment. And then it went to, or otherwise I did a near field communication. OK, so after that it went to the merchant and then merchant to merchant to the acquirer, and then finally acquirer has decrypted the token number, and then finally they send the information. So finally they send the authorization and then the payment got authorized. So in that case, since I used only my token numbers, the maximum loss I can do, I can have is that only the amount I paid, and hence actually my card number and credentials are protected. How tokenization is different from encryption. So when you look at tokenization and encryption, both are crypto methodologies. That means they hide the actual information and they send the they send some generic information to the other parties. So in that way, both are crypto methodologies. And how it is different. So in case of tokenization, if you give a 16-digit number, you get the same 16-digit number. So that will facilitate you. Some websites, if you see, if it is a card number, you can give only 16-digit number. So if it is an encryption, if you give 16-digit number, it may give some random number, ABC, capital D, dollar, XYZ, something like that. Some random number will give, some random characters will come out. So probably, you may not be in a position to use it in a payment website. So whereas in case of tokenization, it is much easier to use it. And so tokenization gives, only the structured data such as payment card or social security numbers. Whereas in case of encryption, it can be it can be used for both structured data as well. I mean, it can be, it gives both the structured data as well as the unstructured data. Like if I want to, if I want to, if I'm sending an email, so I cannot use tokenization methodology. I have to use the encryption methodology because of the size of the message and the information that contains a lot of characters and other things, right? ASCII code. Okay. So and then the use cases. This is for card on file payments, recurring payments, e-commerce transactions, are storing customer data across multiple locations. So you can use the tokenization. In case of encryption, you can use it for in-person transactions or payments over the phone. And security strength, both are having high security strength. And PCI implications, both are complying with latest PCI standards. Any questions here? Okay. So now the time is 9:07. So shall we continue for say another half an hour, or we will connect tomorrow?
I'm fine. Yes.
Connect tomorrow.
Okay. So we got both the responses.
I am fine too.
Okay, fine then. So we'll do one thing. We'll connect for another 15-20 minutes, and then we'll call it a day. Thank you. Thanks for the confirmation. So the next mechanism is chargeback. Okay, chargeback is the process where the customer requests for the transaction reversal. So what kind of scenario a transaction reversal is required? I'll tell my personal example. So a couple of years ago, when I generally look at my credit card statement once in a month before I make the payment. So a couple of years ago, when I was looking at my credit card, so I found 4 debits in my account. Those are Netflix transactions. Those were done by Netflix Paraguay. I think Paraguay. Okay, so I was wondering, I have never been to Paraguay, and then these transaction amounts are not so high, by the way. Actually, I mean, like 800 rupees, 900 rupees each transaction. So 4 into 800 is something like 3,200. Max is 3,500 rupees is the amount. So, but my question is actually, I mean, I have never been to Paraguay, and I have not done any Netflix transaction, which is in this Paraguayan currency. Okay, so I was thinking, what could be the scenario? Okay, the only thing I can recollect is that, one of my friend, got settled there, and I was in touch with possible that he uses my credit card and do some transaction. So I called the Citibank customer care, which is my issuing bank of the card. So I called the Citi customer care, and I have given this information. So the guy who has received my call seemed to be well versed with this kind of scenarios. So he was asking me, what is the amount? What kind of transaction is that? Have I done it? What is the guarantee that I have not done it? So, a couple of questions he was asking me. So I have answered all these questions. Then he said that, sir, we will raise the request for chargeback. So which is a reversal of the transactions. And as a bank mechanism, bank policy, we will credit you all these funds. We'll credit you all the 3,500 rupees amount immediately to your account, and we will take up this request. And in those days, so it was like, I have to fill the application form for the chargeback, and then I have to put my sign, and then I have to scan it and send it to Citibank email ID, and then they take up the once they receive the application, once they will accept it, and then they do the reversal of the debit that was happened, and they take up the bank. But now it is fairly automated. So once you say that you are raising for the chargeback, and if the customer care executive believes that it's a genuine request, then they could automatically reverse the transaction and take up with the network provider, and through network provider it goes to the acquiring bank and to the merchant. So So this is the way I have raised the request, and then so generally whenever a chargeback request is raised within 28 or 30 days, the confirmation has to come. That is a maximum SLA was given for a chargeback process. So I raised the request, and then I forgot it. Okay, since I got my funds back, right? So when probably couple of days later, it just went out of my head. But later, 4 or 5 months later, when I called the customer care just to understand, what happened after that, with little curiosity. So then they told me that the chargeback is successful. So the merchant didn't claim back the funds. So that is the reason they didn't come back to me asking to return the funds. So they're comfortable. That's why they closed the case. That's why they didn't even, actually they should have informed me, but they said that they didn't inform also, since they closed the case from their end itself. So this is the way the chargeback happens. So chargeback is a transaction reversal process through which a customer can claim back the funds that were debited in their account. It serves as a form of consumer protection mechanism for the fraudulent activities committed by both merchants and individuals. And even when you see, whenever you are making the payment, right, it's better to make the payment through, through your debit card or credit card, especially through credit card, so that, if you don't receive the goods, you can go back and tell your banker that, I have not received the goods, so I want to raise a chargeback. So then effectively, the bank will take care of, take up the matter with the vendor, and you get your funds back. Suppose if you pay by cash, then there is no proof, there is no guarantee that you paid the cash, and you yourself have to go to the vendor and convince the vendor that you already paid him. And then probably if vendor is good, he might pay back to you immediately. Otherwise he would say that, sir, please come tomorrow, we will discuss again. So, correct, right? These scenarios can happen, right? So it's always good to make the payments through cards, so that you will have certain kind of 30 days mechanism to apply for the chargeback. If at all you don't receive the goods, or the goods that are delivered to you are fraudulent in nature, kind of scenarios. Only thing is, you have to make sure that your card is kept in a secured place, and don't write your card number anywhere. Just remember those 16-digit number. Kind of few things you have to take care. So it's a demand by a credit card issuer for a retailer to compensate the loss on a fraudulent or disputed transaction. So it's a demand by a customer to credit card issuer. So from credit card issuer, the demand goes to finally to the vendor. And if the vendor cannot prove that it's a fraudulent transaction, or I'll put it in reverse way, sorry. If the vendor cannot prove that it's a genuine transaction, then the chargeback request is considered as a valid transaction, and the whatever the refund given to the customer would remain as the refund. Even if the merchant involved wins a chargeback, the card holder can issue. So sometimes what happens is that the merchant can say that no, it's a genuine chargeback. So the customer has come to our shop and has done the Netflix transaction. Okay, so the vendor can say that, right? So the vendor can again can reject the chargeback request. In that case, the customer has one more option to raise the chargeback, that is called as the pre-arbitration. So vendor has come back and said that no, we have delivered goods delivery, assume that. No, we have delivered the goods on so and so shipment, on so and so invoice through maybe so and so courier. We have delivered the goods, and the vendor has submitted the proof. And then probably the acquiring bank would feel that okay, it's genuinely delivered, and then it can send the information to the issuing bank, and issuing bank would send the information to customers saying that the vendor has not accepted the chargeback. So then the bank would reverse the credit that is already given to the bank account, the card issuer account. So in that case, again, the customer can raise one more chargeback, that is called as the second chargeback. That is also called as the pre-arbitration. If even pre-arbitration also gets failed, then the next step is only arbitration, that is going to the court. what are the parties involved in the chargeback? One is the customer. The customer is nothing but the card holder who made a purchase with a merchant. And there are several reasons that a card holder will file a dispute. One is that there could be some unrecognizable transaction on the billing statement, or the customer sometimes might not be able to recognize the transaction. Whenever you look at the credit cards and transactions, right? So you may see some random name and you may not be able to figure out where I spent the money. Correct. So those kind of scenarios also sometimes the customers might raise the chargeback. And the merchant is the one who has a business, company or brand who has provided the goods or service in exchange for the payment. And then issuer or issuing bank, we know the bank that has issued the card. And the acquiring bank, this is the bank that has acquired the merchant. And the card network, so different card networks, right? Card network or card scheme or card brand, all are same. Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover are some of the card networks we have. So the card network, just like a facilitator of the card transactions, for the chargeback also, the card network work as a facilitator for these transactions. And then issuing bank processor. The issuer's processor verifies the customer's account balances and then and then it will either authorize or deny the transaction requests that are received through the card network. So effectively, issuing bank processor is someone who also verifies whether the chargeback request is genuine or not. And generally, issuing bank might outsource these activities to the issuing bank processor, because the issuing bank processor verifies this transaction whether it is genuine or not, and then based on that it takes up with the network. Similarly, merchant account processor, merchant account so which is the one appointed by the merchant. So to do this kind of activity. And the payment gateway. So whatever the way the transaction has come, in the same way the chargeback request also goes in the same loop, and then finally the inquiry happens, and then finally the decision comes out. So after that we have this chargeback process. We have, I guess, yeah, right. So we'll go through the chargeback process, and after that, then we'll finish this topic. So the cardholder files a dispute by contacting the issuing bank, either through phone banking or by writing an email or by visiting the issuing bank's branches. And then the issuing bank talks to the customer and try to probe. When I spoke with the Citibank, so the guy was asking me, how how the transaction has happened, what I know about the transaction. So they are, pretty much, saying this kind of chargeback requests, almost regularly. So they know, what kind of questions, right questions they should ask to figure out whether a customer request is genuine or not. So if they feel that it's a valid dispute, they take up the process. If they feel that it's an invalid dispute, they might tell the customer that no, this could be a genuine transaction. Okay, the description could be wrong, but the transaction could be genuine. So they might tell that. But still, if the customer feels that it's a valid dispute, even the customer can pretty much demand the issuing bank to raise the chargeback request. And then the issuer provides an immediate credit to the customer. Yeah, that effectively means that if the issuing bank feels that the dispute is valid, then only they give immediate credit. Sometimes they take the dispute request, but they may not give immediate credit to the customer. And then the issuer submits the chargeback request to the card network, and the card network then passes it to the acquirer. And there are some fees incurred in this entire transaction, because none of these providers will do free service, right? Okay, there is no free lunch. So for this transaction cost, everything would be again borne by the merchant only. So effectively, this entire whatever the cost that is incurred by the issuing bank or acquiring bank or the network. So again, the merchant has to bear this transaction cost. So the acquirer receives the chargeback and passes it to the merchant. It contains the instructions to gather compelling evidence that directly relates to the chargeback reason. So the merchant has to, the acquiring bank sends a notification to merchant saying that so and so transaction for so and so amount happened on so and so date, so and so time, is raised as a disputed transaction. So please give the evidences within 3 days time to prove that it's a genuine transaction. So the merchant has to revert within those 3 days time. Maximum given is like 15 days time. So if the merchant doesn't doesn't respond within those 15 days time, so then the merchant bank confirms itself that it is a genuine chargeback request, and then it gives confirmation to the acquiring bank. If the merchant returns within those 15 days and with valid evidences, then the acquiring bank will take that up with the merchant bank and to the customer. So effectively, once the evidence is, valid, compelling evidence is there, then, the merchant bank assumes that, feels that it is right, then it comes to the acquiring bank. Otherwise, it may reject it there itself also. And finally, if at all compelling evidence has come and the customer still believes that the chargeback is it should be something raised, it is genuine, then the customer can raise the second chargeback. Otherwise, sometimes the customer might realize in the meantime that yes, the transaction was happened. It was it was his or her own mistake. So then, in that case, the customer may be silent about it and allow the reversal of the chargeback that was happened to his or her account. So any questions here till that? So in this today we have covered an entire basic background about the cards, anatomy of the card, and the card networks, schemes, loan algorithm, and then different players in the cards industry, and 3-party model, 4-party model, and the submission, clearing and settlement mechanism, near field communication, and tokenization, encryption, and then the chargeback mechanism. Any questions on what we discussed today? So whoever has joined late, so I have shared this WhatsApp link. Feel free to join the WhatsApp link, and if you have any queries, feel free to ask there.
Sure, Ramesh. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all. We'll connect tomorrow again.